Oh, I think that's always in the cards. Right now, I think the U.S. is trying to protect its military interests in the Gulf region. The support we've shown for the regime in Bahrain, which hosts a U.S. naval base, the headquarters of the Fifth Fleet. I think right now we're trying to shore up those regimes. But the deputy Chinese foreign minister said something very interesting at the BRICS summit on Hainan Island in southern China. He said that there are other countries who he would not name who have asked to join this anti-NATO, anti-EU, anti-U.S. New grouping of nations that are basically positioning themselves to pick up the pieces after the collapse of this American empire. And I would not be surprised if the reason he didn't mention the names of the countries, I would think that maybe Saudi Arabia could be one of them. Certainly, I would think Turkey, which is a growing regional power politically and economically, is also a country that would like to divorce itself from the United States and go with this new alignment.
Isn't that, though, part of the globalist grand strategy? These giant capital pits run by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Soroses. Because we see their minion, Geithner, 2 years ago in China, and now again 2 weeks ago saying, yes, we're looking at something that's an alternative to the dollar. We like this. And the globalists that have used America are basically done with us now. They've run up our credit card. They've destroyed our name while carrying out their operations. And so now they're basically hedging their bet, moving more in an alignment with the BRIC nations. I mean, look at the bailout of General Motors. Billions to Brazil to build plants, billions to Eastern Europe, billions to China. I mean, the people running Washington are basically sinking this ship and now jumping on the new ship they've outfitted, the BRICS.
Well, they may want to join up, but I listened to, for example, the Brazilian finance minister, the trade minister of South Africa. They all had the same line, basically. They don't like the fact the U.S. is flooding the world with cheap dollars. They don't like quantitative easing. They're blaming the Western banks for causing the worst economic collapse since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And it's quite clear what they're talking about. They're saying the day where these old white guys sit in Geneva and London and New York and call the shots, and here in Washington, that those days are over. And I think that the mere fact that whatever Geithner's saying, he's trying to protect himself. But I think this is also a cultural thing. And let's face it, I mean, these countries several decades ago were third world nations, and now they're growing in stature. And I think there's a bit of
but it was the globalists that passed the tax laws to incentivize moving to those countries. What I'm pointing out is this has always been part of the larger stratagem to bring the U.S. and Europe down and then move it into this new system. And sure, the president of Brazil and others, they put out rhetoric that's popular. It's kind of like El Baradi saying we'll have war with Israel when it's known that he's on this international council with Soros and General Jones and, all the rest of them. So, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I mean, it's been the globalist that helped put these current elites basically into power in the BRICS nations you're talking about, with the exception of Russia. Now, Russia is the big wild card. What do you see happening with Russia?
Well, we don't know how this presidential election is going to play out. Clearly, Dmitry Medvedev, the current president, is a favorite of these Western institutions. They do not like Vladimir Putin, the prime minister. So there's talk of maybe a race between the two, but they're supposed to be partners. They're being very coy about their future political plans, unless they're just trying to play the world for suckers and saying, I think that we're going to have a race against one another, when in fact I think Putin's very popular in Russia, and I think Putin will probably run for president and and get his old job back.
Oh, absolutely. They're putting on a fake fight. He put Medvedev in there to be his placeholder so he could come back later. And anybody that buys into the fact that these two are fighting with each other really hasn't done any geopolitical research. I think Michael Corleone in The Godfather says, you don't think you could fool a Corleone with that trick. Well, it doesn't take a Corleone to know what's going on here.
Oh, right. But I think what we're seeing is a sort of a realignment of these old structures. I think after the collapse, I think the collapse of the American Empire is a foregone conclusion. We're just like the Roman Empire that sent its legions out to the periphery as Rome itself was collapsing. It's a fool's errand. We're striking out at Libya. We're still sending drones into Pakistan when their government said stop. We said we don't care what you think. We're going to continue to do it. These are the death throes of a dying regime, and I think obviously after the collapse, we're going to see a major realignment. We're going to see new regional powers being developed.
Sure. When in closing, great points. When do you see this realignment happening? It looks like it may even be starting right now with reports of Standard & Poor's downgrading and saying that they don't see a good future for our AAA rating. They're saying that they now have a negative outlook on the AAA rating in the future.
There's even reports in Washington about there's a move to maybe repudiate our national debt. But I think if any of that happens, if we're junk bond rated or there's a repudiation, we're talking about the end of this party here. That's been a party for these wealthy fat cats for so many years.
Well, they're certainly setting up a police state, though, to try to suppress us. They're certainly doing a rear guard action or trying to secure their home base. And the natives here are getting pretty restless.
Well, we saw what happened in the state capitals, and this is very much in line with what I heard from a former Obama administration financial advisor in November. He said, what will happen in the United States won't be like Greece or Spain or Portugal or Iceland. It'll be more state by state. And sure enough, we're seeing the states cutting back, implementing austerity measures, and then the people getting out and demonstrating in mass.
But notice, nothing is ever cut from the banksters of the lion's share of the fake debt. The Republicans won't talk about it. Democrats won't talk about it. Nobody will touch the real authors of our problems. They want to scapegoat it off onto welfare moms. And you could throw all of them into a bottomless pit. This problem wouldn't even be handled.
Right, it's a kabuki dance, what we see between Paul Ryan and Barack Obama and Geithner. This is all for consumption. This is for the Sunday morning talking head shows. They do get behind closed doors. They know what they're doing, and they're practicing what I call financial alchemy. They're trying to make things out of nothing. And of course, we the American people are the last ones to know about this. What goes on behind closed doors, but all this jockeying for position with John Boehner and all these other characters, saying we're not going to do that. Look, they didn't shut down the government. They won't shut down the government. They've got a budget. It's gonna hurt the people who are really not in a position to be hurt any more than they already are. And but this is the austerity moves that we saw in Europe. I was told by this Obama official who resigned, he said, I'm never going to give them any more money again. He was a financial contributor, but he said in the U.S. it's going to be a state-by-state uprising, and we've certainly seen that happen.
And have you now
Wisconsin,
seen
Ohio.
this? Have you seen this, in closing, this chilling propaganda on radio, TV about how great Lincoln was and how the feds may have to come in against the states again, and the states have no rights, and if the states try to have any power over their lives, that the feds are going to deal with them? I mean, it looks like they are getting the public ready for some type of John Warner Defense Authorization Act provision with this 10-member governor council to try to come in here and federalize things.
Well, it's a sesquicentennial of the Civil War, so we have this Robert Redford movie out now, The Conspirators. It's getting a lot of attention about the plot to kill Lincoln. But it should be remembered that the conspirators, Mary Surratt and the others, were tried and found guilty by military commissions. So we had military commissions passing these sentences against civilians. What are they trying to tell us?
It's incredible, and at the same time, Obama's announcing he'll have secret commissions try you and execute you in kangaroo courts. Wayne Madsen, getting out of Dodge. We look forward to interviewing you once you get to your new home base, your new rebel base. We've been to the base at, I guess, Tantooine, and it's been abandoned for some time. All right, we'll talk to you again soon. WayneMadsenReport.com. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.